Welcome back to part 3 of this widget tutorial series. We've already done all the layouts in the past 2 parts, so in this part we're just going to grab all the data from a URL and parse that JSON file. So let's just get straight into it. So let's scroll up here and let's go to the last part we haven't touched, the provider. Technically we have touched this because we added the data and error parameters when we were creating a simple entry. But yeah, that's pretty much all we've really done in the provider. I'm gonna go gloss over everything that you need to know. First of all, this is all about the data. You're passing in the data and displaying it out here, and WidgetKit handles the rest. Otherwise, this placeholder here is the placeholder stuff that you see with redacted data. But if it's redacted and blurred out, you can really set it to anything. It doesn't really matter. I just set it to the preview data that we're using right now. And of course, error is false because you don't want any errors during the preview. Anyways, other than that, we have the get snapshot. We've got the get snapshot stuff. We've got get snapshot and get timeline. Now these are where we actually pass in the data. Get snapshot is taking a one-time data capsule. So it's like asking, hey, can I have like a snippet of the data? I'm like, yeah, here we go. Here's some data. So what we're doing is just getting the data and passing it through this completion function, which is being passed in as a parameter. So completion entry. That's the entry is pretty much all the data that we're using, which is why we put all the data inside the entry. By the way, if you want, you can rename it to from simple entry to something else. I'm just keeping it to simple entry just to keep it nice and simple. Get timeline is a bit like get snapshot, except you're getting a series of snapshots. So basically, it's asking you, first of all, a series of entries you want to feed into. So if you want to keep your widget updated, I'm going to keep it updated every 15 minutes. So I'm going to have it, I'm going to give it one entry and then update it after 15 minutes. Currently, there's a for loop that gets 5 entries and refreshes it and requests a new timeline at the last entry. Now what requesting a new timeline does is it runs through this function again and it resets everything. So this will be run every in this case 15 minutes, since we're rerunning it every 15 minutes. Now the reason why, one thing I'm also going to add is that it's only going to be one entry. The reason why it's only one entry is because since we're getting data, we just want this to get data every 15 minutes. So that's why we're only putting in one entry and then having it refresh after 15 minutes. You'll see what I mean, like right now, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to simple entry, put that in the entries. So I'm just going to space it out here just to give it a better look. So it's an array with only one entry, which means that we can just delete all of this. Now, for this policy at end, this means that since we only have one entry, it's going to say, oh, we have the entry, this is a final entry. We have to refresh it. And it's going to be constantly refreshing over and over again. And you're going to end up with flickering on the widgets, which has happened to me before when making the weather duck widget. Actually, at one point, I was going to ask Twitter, oh, hey, why is it not working? Why is it flickering and everything? No, I got that fixed, so that's why you didn't see me post that on Twitter. Anyways, policy at end. What you have to do is just set the policy to .after. I'm gonna have that be dealt with later because I'm gonna set this date to an instantiated date. This date here is just the current time because it's gonna be set to right now. Policy right now, it's going to be .after. The only other option we have other than at end is never, because never just means, oh, I am never refreshing it again. Only if you manually refresh it. So if it's .never, the only way that can be refreshed is for you to do let's see, widget center dot reload timelines. Let's see. No, widget center dot shared dot reload timelines of kind. Now this kind here is actually the kind of widget. So we've tagged that as BTC app widget. So that's what it is. If that doesn't work, you can even reload all the timelines, every single timeline. That's it. But yeah, that's for .NET. And I probably wouldn't ever really do it unless it's actually needed. So for this reload timeline, this is gonna be after 15 minutes. So you'll see what I am doing right here, right now. So let's see. Oh, there's something wrong. Okay, basically, yeah, this is it. You're just doing calendar.current.date. You're getting a date by adding 15 minutes to a current time. So it's going to refresh after 15 minutes. It's saying, oh, this is a timestamp you want, I want this to be refreshed. And that's really it. It's one entry, and that's it. So we've got all the stuff, all the foundation of the provider set up. Now it's time to do the network provider, or the network manager. So this can be a class named network manager. And the reason why I'm doing it in a separate class is because it's just to make it easier or cleaner, I would say. So I'm gonna create a constant called network manager, which is gonna be an instance of the network manager itself. And we're gonna deal with this later. It's only gonna be a few lines once we finish the network manager. So the network manager is going to be a function called getWithData. And this is the only parameter it's going to have is a completion block. So like this, we have a completion block. It's basically just going to be so we can wait for it to finish. And once it's finished, we can return all the values. You'll see what I mean later. So it's going to be an app escaping closure. And it's going to return a simple entry .btc data. I'm going to make this an optional and have it and make return type void because we don't need it to ask anything else. So first of all, let's get the URL. Now, if you're wondering what the URL is, then I'm gonna provide it to you right now. So URL of the string. Let me just add an else part to this godlet. So if there's nothing else, I'm just going to return completion nil. So if it doesn't work, then we're just going to complete the function with nil. So let's see. We have so this is the URL here. You can just copy and paste this. If you want, you can just pause the video. I'm just gonna exit out of this, and there we go. Paste it in. It's HTTPS API.blockchain. You can read it. That's pretty much what it is. And remember, I'm using the US dollars currency. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a URL session .shared data task, and this is gonna be a data task with the URL where we pretty much fetch in all the data. So basically, we've created another closure, which is pretty much gonna tell us, oh, we finished it. Here's all the results we've gotten from the fetching. So we've got the data, we've got the response, and any errors that might just pop up. Okay, this is going to be pretty simple. First of all, we're going to create a variable called result, and this is where we're going to fetch in all that BTC data. We're going to keep this as we're just going to keep this as a optional, so we can just return that. So if there's an error, we can still return it. It's just going to be nil. So it's return completion and nil. There we go. And or not completion nil. It's going to be result because we're feeding in the results. After this, we're gonna resume this. So okay, outside of this closure, it's gonna just resume the task. Basically, it's starting the task. Let's see. So this is going to be an if-let statement. So we're just gonna check if the data, we're unwrapping the data. We're also going to unwrap the response as result. Make sure we're gonna downcast it to, or convert it to a HTTP URL response. Then we're gonna make sure that the response.status code is equal to 0 or 200, because 200 is just, oh, everything is fine, here you go. So 200, if there's an error, like, the famous 404, it's going to be of type, 400 or something. So, very good. We've got result, we've got the data, and basically we're checking the response code. So, do catch. So now we're going to add a do catch statement. And this do catch statement is just going to be, we're going to do something and then catch if there's an error. In this case, what we're going to do is decode this, all the random gibberish of this data. So result equals to try JSON decoder. So we're decoding the JSON file here. It's not really gibberish, but yeah, we're decoding the JSON file. So we're creating an instance of JSON decoder and decoding that into the type of the BTC data. So it's pretty much converting the JSON file into the BTC data, which is extremely simple. Like other times, I'll just have to, manually get the data, extract the data from a JSON file, and then feed it in. This time, it's just so easy. So you just do simple entry .btc data.self, and that's it. Anyways, the data that we're going to put in is pretty much the data from here. And if there's an error, we're just going to print error. There you go. And either way, in any instance, it's just going to return with the completion of the result. Okay, that's done. I'm going to close off this preview thing. And we're pretty much on the home run of this tutorial. Alright, so network manager. In the both get snapshot and get timeline, we're going to do network manager.get with data, and inside this completion is pretty much, we're going to have this data here. This is all the data that we have, and yeah, that's pretty much it. For data, it's going to be data. If it's not data, so if it happens to be nil, then it's going to return .error. So 2 question marks, and if there's an error, that error is just going to be, if the data is equal to nil. I mean, yeah, that's really it. That's really it, and that's pretty much, we can just do the same thing in here, except that we need to feed in the network manager, or we need to run the network manager as well in here. And also the reason why we're using closures is basically, instead of having it return an object, because it takes some time to fetch some data. So it's telling it to do the network data, and in here is once it's finished. It's waiting. The closure is once it's finished. Once this closure is run, then everything else will be completed, and you've run the completion, and that's it. Even in the get timeline, get snapshot, it's an at escaping. It's a closure. You're not doing a return. You're not doing return timeline or whatever it is. Because it's like Apple said, oh, well, our developers might want to fetch data. So that's why we're going to be patient. We're going to have a closure to be patient and wait for the URL stuff to be done. Anyways, I think we are done. I'm gonna run. Actually, I'm gonna go fancy. I'm gonna be pretty fancy, and I am going to run on an iPhone 11 Pro Max. All right, I'm gonna disconnect the Untitled iPad for screen, and yeah, let's wait for it to build. Let's see. There is a bit of an error. I forgot to do one more thing. Okay. Let's add in another object to the info.plist. So this is going to be this is going to be apt transport security settings. Now this is pretty much what I do whenever I'm fetching data. I just need to set allow arbitrary loads to true, to yes, because if there is for example, arbitrary load is like fetching the data. I don't know what they exactly mean by arbitrary loads, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyways, as you can see here, BTC app is loaded. And for a moment, if you saw before, it flashed like a redacted thing. So yeah, it's working. Yeah, unfortunately, if I go into settings, and I check, there's nothing for the appearance. I've checked it, trust me, I don't think I found anything, unless I can change it here, and I also checked, I couldn't really find anything. Anyways, so you've got the BTC app, that's working fine, that's amazing. So I'm gonna add in some more widgets. It's a little laggy, the simulator, but it's because I'm running a little iPhone in my computer. So you can see they've all been added. Yeah, so you've got the BTC app, and BTC app. So I'm gonna try putting the biggest one because there's a volume. You can see the stock prices have gone up. I mean, this is amazing. I am amazed. It's working great. So that's all I have to say. I'm gonna stop running. I'm gonna quit the simulator because it is extremely laggy. Anyways, that's all I have. So thank you. Yeah, thanks for listening. Or thanks for watching and following along with the tutorial. Hopefully you got something out of it. And let's head out to the outro. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. Alright, so now we're in the outro. So we've covered a lot, and now you know how to use SwiftUI, WidgetKit, as well as loading JSONs from the internet. So I hope you found this tutorial useful, and so yeah, that's all I have. Thanks, and stay safe. Goodbye. Beep, 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 beep.